with the acronym M-NCPPC. It's the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. It's actually a bi-county agency with Prince George's County and Montgomery County, and I represent Montgomery Parks on the Montgomery County side. We've been involved in active on-the-ground deer population management since 1995. And a little bit of background on the county, 491 square miles of land area, about 103 of which are public or park land. Human population, a little over 1 million people. And we see what Brian mentioned earlier along the 270 corridor going down towards D.C. If you come from D.C. up, we go from urban, suburban, exurban, and rural. It's a gradient across the county as you travel north and west, essentially. So as that gradient was developing, Brian said the deer were coming back from the 20s to the 70s. And then in the 80s, things started to pick up steam. That kind of follows development in many ways. And in the late 80s and early 90s, the people in Montgomery County started to realize we kind of have a lot of a good thing here all of a sudden. And before they knew it, they had way too much of the good thing. And so in 1993, the White-tailed Deer Management Task Force was commissioned to study and make recommendations. Doug's going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit, probably. And out of that came the Montgomery County Deer Management Work Group, which is a multi-agency committee. There's actually a couple of representatives here today that are on that committee. And we meet every year to discuss the issues of deer management in Montgomery County and how they can be addressed. In 1995, soon after the work group was put together, they came up with the comprehensive management plan for white-tailed deer in Montgomery County. We still follow that plan, generally speaking, and we update it every year and make recommendations available on our website. But the goal of the plan is to reduce human-deer conflict to a level compatible with human priorities and land uses. So as we discussed already today, when it comes to overabundant deer populations, we see a variety of impacts, really hitting on 3 prongs: ecological. When it comes to forest regeneration, we saw that exact same picture. It's Black Hill Regional Park in Montgomery County. Social, deer damage to landscaping, agriculture, things like that, and public health and safety with deer vehicle collisions, concerns about disease, and so forth. So when it comes to deer and people, what we really would like to see is balance. Balance is extremely difficult to achieve when it comes to overabundant deer and the interests of people. But ideally, we'd have deer in balance with their habitat and in balance with what humans need or desire in their landscape. And when we see overabundance, it's simply unsustainable. So the role that Montgomery Parks plays in the deer management plan that came from the Deer Management Work Group, we have 3 major topics when it comes to this. Data collection and monitoring, in the early going, focused on justifying the need to manage deer. It's more of a monitoring situation now. And because of the focus on population management, we actually don't get to collect a lot of the impact data, the vegetation and things like that anymore, because we spend all our resources trying to reduce and maintain deer. Nevertheless, we do collect data in certain regards and monitor that. We do a lot more public education and outreach now, similar to what Extension offers. You know, we have website materials. We do a lot of social media now. We do media interviews. We hold meetings with communities and so forth. And then we issue that Deer Management Work Group report every year on progress. Mitigation, this is things like facility protection, our reforestation plantings, our botanical gardens, our Pope Farm Nursery has fenced facilities. We maintain all that as a department to try to exclude deer and protect those resources. And then highlighted in bold here is our population management programming, which my group oversees and implements on the ground. And so when it comes to population management, Brian has already touched on the options. There are some non-lethal options when it comes to mitigating for impacts, fewer non-lethal options when it comes to actually managing deer, and even fewer highly successful non-lethal options. But we are following those sterilization projects. As Brian mentioned, there's a couple in Montgomery County now at NIST, NIH. The research on Gonacon was conducted in Montgomery County years ago now. So Montgomery County has been highly active, and if I can add, Maryland as a state is one of the most advanced states in terms of allowing research and exploring these methods and being open to those discussions. So we're kind of on the cutting edge here in Montgomery County, Maryland, and in the state as a whole. Lethal population management, we're trying to fulfill the ecological role of predator in the absence of other predators, especially on adult deer. And so we can do this through things like hunting, sharpshooting, capture euthanasia, which is not a method that we've used as a department, but there are some places throughout the country that have used that method. It can be highly controversial. So population management across the county. This is a look at everything going on in the county. So this includes multiple agencies and entities, not just the Department of Parks. So we've got state lands in here, federal properties, our park land, WSSC. This is everything combined. There's over 50 sites in the county that are actively managing deer through lethal means, as well as a few that are trying to do it through non-lethal means, as I mentioned. So in terms of what my department, the Department of Parks in Montgomery County, is doing to directly reduce deer and manage them, we use managed hunting through a multi-pronged approach to various programs that do different things, as well as sharpshooting with our park police-based approach. We're fortunate in that we have a park police department that is able to join with us in this effort, which brings a certain level of confidence to the community. We can garner a lot of support through that program where it's needed. Starting with managed deer hunting, personally, my opinion is we should maximize the use of hunters wherever we can. They are a free resource that chomps at the bit for the opportunity, and we have a lot of deer on this landscape, and that's attractive to hunters. So we want to find high-quality hunters, set standards that are difficult to achieve but are achievable, and get them involved in partnering with us. So we do this through two primary methods: shotgun managed hunting and archery managed hunting. And then we have multiple programs that utilize each of those methods. When it comes to managing with sharpshooting, as I said, we're using our park police officers. We do this under the Maryland Deer Cooperator Permit that Brian talked about earlier. Our officers are highly trained and certified through the Maryland Police and Corrections Training Commission Type 1 long gun training, which is essentially a sniper course. So we have a high-level shooter out there doing this work. And all of the meat that is resultant of these deer is donated to the Capital Area Food Bank. So that program, all those deer are donated. Our managed hunting programs, some of the hunters do donate their deer, others use it for their own. But we do donate a lot of deer meat every year through these programs. This map represents just what we are doing as a department, and that's grown from this Dickerson property in 1995 was the only property under Department of Parks Management in cooperation with Maryland DNR. So you can see all that other color, that's all been added since 1995. It represents about half of our park system and about 19,000 acres. The yellow that you see there of this past year, they were being investigated for potential addition into the program. They were all added into the program just this past year. Okay, so results. Since 1996, through our programs, we've removed almost 20,000 deer, which is just a number to most people, but when you do it, it's a lot of deer. But our annual harvest from 96 to 2004 was roughly 450 deer a year. That is now residing about 1,000, a little over 1,000 deer a year. And that's representative of, you can see this upward trend in reduction numbers. That's representative of resources being allocated for us to get this work done. When I started working in 2004 with the department, I was one of two. Bill Hamilton, if any of you have met Bill, was the other. We now have 5 staff in my office, and most of our time, 75% of our time, I'd say, goes to deer management, though we're responsible for all of wildlife management and parkland. So it's a major focus. The county council allocates our budget and have been hugely supportive based on their constituency beating the drum over the years to get more done. So we are well resourced when it comes to the county level operations. Back to the venison donation thing, though venison donation is not a goal of our program, it is certainly one that the public can latch onto, and it's one that I feel very proud about myself. I like to know that the work that I'm doing is lending another benefit to the community, and So far, almost 9,000 deer have been donated, all through sharpshooting. And as I mentioned, hunters are donating even above and beyond that. But about 315,000 pounds of deer meat since about 1997. So that's a lot of food. So what does the future look like for us? We plan to continue doing what we're doing. We also continue to follow the science. We work closely with Brian and George and DNR. We attend conferences and meetings to try to learn more about what's being done. We look at places like Cornell and everything that they've done. We do follow the non-lethal projects. I've been fascinated with this Staten Island project, and Tony DiNicola's work there. It's really something. We're also investigating new methods that we can try to do on parkland. We just started doing drone-based forward-looking infrared surveys this year to try to see how we can get some baseline data on our deer populations at the local scale. So we're always looking for ways to improve. So to wrap this up, for all of us, we should know that deer are here to stay. I don't know about you, but my goal is not to eradicate deer by any stretch. Deer fascinate me. They always have. That's why I do what I do for a living, is because deer are my favorite animal. I'm passionate about deer, and I would hate to see them go away. That said, balance is necessary, and there's a lot of challenges to get to that. We live in an information age, so this cuts on many different fronts. Social media, general media, it doesn't take long for news to get out. So it is very challenging to manage deer when you're being video recorded at every turn. So that's something to keep in mind as you're developing programs too. You will be under a microscope through that information taking off like wildfire. Expectations in line with that are high. So not only are you under the microscope, but you're expected to be perfect. So no pressure there. Calls for service are likely to increase, especially on the urban front. They're very challenging to attack this on the urban front, and those calls are only increasing. Knowledge and education is vital. Outreach is very important. Going to the community, expressing the need, helping them understand what this requires, and getting their support is very important. And we're all in this together. So when you sit in a room like this, just be encouraging to each other. Always help each other out however you can, because it's an uphill climb. And with that, this is information I think you all received as a handout. If you have any questions about what we do in Montgomery Parks, you can go to our website, or you can contact myself or my coworkers. We're happy to help however we can.